Sam Altman was fired on Friday. By Sunday night, the board that fired him no longer existed. On November 17, 2023, OpenAI's board terminated its CEO in a video call that lasted less than 5 minutes. No warning, no performance review, no explanation beyond a cryptic 3-word phrase. Lack of candor. What followed was a corporate mutiny, unlike anything in human history. Within 48 hours, 743 out of company's 770 employees signed a single letter threatening to walk out unless Altman was reinstated. That is 96% of an $86 billion company threatening to vanish overnight. Microsoft, which had anchored OpenAI's entire infrastructure, immediately opened its checkbook, preparing to absorb the entire workforce into a rogue parallel AI division. The board had fired the CEO. The employees just fired the board back. Sam Altman was not a scientist. He was not an AI researcher. He had never built anything that changed the world before OpenAI. What he had was a specific and dangerous talent. The ability to make the most powerful people in any room believe that whatever he was proposing was not just good for them, but inevitable for humanity. That talent made him the most connected person in Silicon Valley. It also made him the most difficult person to hold accountable. He dropped out of Stanford at 19 to start Looped, a location-sharing app that raised $30 million, found no mass market, and sold for $43 million in 2012. Enough to return investor money. Not enough to make anyone rich. At 28, Paul Graham chose him to run Y Combinator, the most influential startup accelerator in Silicon Valley. He funded Airbnb, Stripe, and Reddit. He built relationships with every major investor, founder, and power broker in technology. By the time he became OpenAI CEO, he could call anyone on Earth, and they would answer. That network was his real product. And like any salesman who believes completely in what he's selling, he never fully separated his own ambition from the mission he was selling it under. That blurred line is what made him extraordinary. It is also what put him in that Friday video call. OpenAI was not Sam Altman's idea. It was Elon Musk's fear. In 2015, Musk had become convinced that Google was on a path to building artificial general intelligence, and that no safeguard existed to prevent that technology from being controlled by a single commercial entity. His solution was a non-profit AI lab that would pursue development in the open, governed by a board whose legal obligation was to humanity, rather than shareholders. He called Altman. Altman said yes immediately. In December 2015, OpenAI launched with $1 billion in founding commitments from Musk, Altman, Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman, and others. The mission was explicit: develop artificial general intelligence that benefits all of humanity. Then in 2018, Musk left the board. The official statement said he departed to avoid conflicts with Tesla's own AI development. What was documented separately was this: Musk had proposed taking over as CEO to accelerate OpenAI's progress. The board refused. He left within weeks of that refusal. He would spend the next 6 years building his own AI company, filing lawsuits against his former organization, and arguing publicly that OpenAI had betrayed everything it was founded to be, whether he was pushed or jumped. The man who conceived OpenAI was gone before it built anything the world had heard of. Sam Altman stepped into that vacancy and never looked back. In 2019, Altman restructured OpenAI into a capped profit company. Investors could make returns, but profits were legally capped. The board retained oversight. Microsoft invested $1 billion immediately. The nonprofit wrapper remained. The commercial engine underneath it had just been switched on. That tension between the mission Musk had designed and the company Altman was building would detonate 4 years later on a Friday afternoon. By November 2023, ChatGPT had reached 100 million users in 2 months. The fastest-growing consumer application in history. Microsoft had invested $13 billion total. OpenAI was valued at $86 billion. Sam Altman was on the cover of every major business publication on Earth. Then came the Friday call. The board consisted of 4 people: Helen Toner, Tasha McCauley, Adam D'Angelo, and Ilya Sutskever. Sutskever was OpenAI's chief scientist and co-founder. One of the most respected AI researchers alive. The person more responsible than anyone outside Altman for what OpenAI had become. His vote against Altman was the most consequential and the most surprising. Their stated reason: lack of candor. 3 words. No elaboration. No examples. No public explanation of what Altman had concealed from whom about what. Greg Brockman, OpenAI's president and co-founder, resigned within hours. 3 senior researchers followed. Sam Altman posted one line on social media: "I loved my time at OpenAI." The restraint of that sentence against the chaos surrounding it was noticed by everyone who read it. By Saturday morning, the story was everywhere. By Saturday afternoon, Microsoft's CEO, Satya Nadella, had called Altman directly. By Saturday night, Microsoft had publicly announced Altman would lead a new advanced AI research team inside Microsoft, with unlimited resources. The board had fired the CEO. Microsoft had just told the world it didn't matter. The board had expected resistance. They had not expected 96%. 743 of OpenAI's 770 employees signed an open letter, addressed directly to the board. It was precise and devastating. It stated, the board had demonstrated a clear lack of competence. It demanded the resignation of every board member who had voted to remove Altman. It threatened that every signatory would leave OpenAI and follow Altman to Microsoft if those demands were not met. Then Ilya Sutskever signed it. The chief scientist, who had cast the deciding vote to fire Sam Altman, signed the letter demanding the board reverse the decision, which he had participated in making. He posted publicly, "I deeply regret my participation in the board's actions." That single reversal ended the board's position entirely. The firing could not survive the person who executed it, publicly disowning it. The board had fired Altman on Sutskever's credibility. Sutskever had just withdrawn that credibility in a public post. Negotiations ran through Saturday night and Sunday. Board members resigned one by one. New members were brought in. By Monday morning, Sam Altman walked back into OpenAI as CEO. Every board member who had voted to fire him was gone. The board had fired the CEO on Friday. By Monday, the board itself had ceased to exist. The official explanation, lack of candor, has never been elaborated publicly. What exists is 3 documented theories, and 1 undocumented theory, that is the most important of all. Theory 1. The safety disagreement. Board members believed Altman was moving too fast, releasing increasingly powerful AI systems, without adequate safety evaluation. Helen Toner had co-authored a paper critical of OpenAI's safety communications, weeks before the firing. Altman had complained about that paper to other board members, and reportedly sought to have Toner removed from the board. She participated in removing him instead. Theory 2. The undisclosed commercial deals. Weeks before firing, Altman had been negotiating chip ventures and conversations with Middle Eastern sovereign wealth funds about AI infrastructure investment. Some board members reportedly learned about these through external sources, rather than from Altman directly. The lack of candor charge may have referred to these specifically. Theory 3, and this is the one nobody will confirm but nobody will fully deny. In the days immediately before firing, OpenAI researchers had allegedly made a significant breakthrough in AI capability. A development substantial enough that certain board members believed it represented a meaningful step toward artificial general intelligence. The very technology the organization was founded to develop carefully. The very technology the board existed to govern. If that theory is true, the board was not having a corporate dispute. It was doing exactly what it was legally structured to do. Pumping the brakes on the most consequential technology ever built, because the man accelerating it wasn't telling them everything. And it still lasted 72 hours, before commercial reality destroyed it entirely. The 72 hours left permanent marks on everything they touched. Elon Musk filed a lawsuit against OpenAI and Sam Altman in 2024, alleging the organization had abandoned its non-profit founding mission in favor of commercial profit. The lawsuit argued that OpenAI's Microsoft partnership and capped profit restructuring had transformed it from a public good into a commercial competitor with a non-profit wrapper. Musk had simultaneously founded xAI, his own AI company, competing directly with OpenAI. The conflict of interest was noted. The underlying argument about whether OpenAI had betrayed its founding mission was noted more seriously. Ilya Sutskever left OpenAI in May 2024. The man who voted to fire Altman, then reversed that vote, then watched Altman return to power, left to found Safe Superintelligence, an AI safety-focused company. His departure removed the last co-founder from OpenAI's active leadership. The organization Musk conceived, Sutskever built, and Altman commercialized, now belonged entirely to Altman. OpenAI raised $6.6 billion in late 2024, at a valuation of $157 billion, nearly double its valuation at the time of the firing. The crisis that was supposed to end the company had instead forced a governance restructuring that gave investors the board representation they had always wanted. The non-profit board, designed to resist commercial pressure, had been replaced by a structure commercial pressure could live with. The 4 board members who fired Sam Altman on Friday are no longer on OpenAI's board. The company they governed is now valued at $157 billion. The restructured board that replaced them includes investor representatives, exactly the commercial influence the original non-profit board was designed to prevent. The founding mission of OpenAI was to develop artificial general intelligence that benefits all of humanity. Not a company. Not shareholders. Not a single CEO. That mission required a governance structure that could override commercial pressure. That structure fired the CEO. The commercial pressure fired the structure back. Elon Musk wanted to build an AI lab that no single entity could control. Sam Altman runs it. Microsoft owns a significant stake. The board that was supposed to represent humanity couldn't survive 72 hours against 743 employees and a $13 billion investor. OpenAI's founding documents said the mission was more important than any individual. The 72 hours of November 2023 proved that one individual was more important than the board protecting the mission. Sam Altman was fired on Friday. By Sunday night, the board that fired him no longer existed. By Monday, he was back. By 2024, the company was worth $157 billion. Nobody has explained what lack of candor actually meant.